Would you believe me if I said that I think February is probably the most dangerous month in the Northern Hemisphere UK areas as far as bonsai is concerned? It's a nightmare. It's the one month when we can do so much damage and harm, either right now or indeed for the shorter to longer term development of many of our bonsai trees. And for me, February is really about the 3 W's of bonsai. I'm also going to go through 10 great things that you should be doing, looking at and considering in February. Because seriously, for me, those 3 W's make all the difference in what I'm going to do over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And it really should play a lot of a part in what you're going to do. And this thing is the first of the ones that's going to fool you. This crabapple, that's going to fool you. The blue sky, that's going to fool you. And I tell you what, the mild weather, certainly in the UK or equivalent climates, is going to fool you. Don't let it. Anyway, let's find out about these 3 W's and those 10 great tips for bonsai in February. And also find out the one tree that we definitely will be working on. Because I've got a root over rock tie bark ficus that right now in February, I need to do some work on. Hi, it's Xavier, and do you know what? Welcome to my bonsai retreat, and this one I dedicate to Nathan. He sent me a message through, which initially I dismissed and said, you know what, Nathan, I've done these videos before, but it occurred to me that really I've never talked about the 3 W's. And I think it's really important because February, right now, right across me is blue sky. I've got the sun here. The weather has been ever so mild. I mean, certainly with our Japanese quince or our crab apples, you've seen the crab apples, they're already opening up. The Japanese quince started. I've got some white flowers coming out. You know, it's a really great time. But do you know what? If you look back in my my bonsai history on YouTube, have a look and find out exactly when I started doing the real work that many of you right now want to be doing with those fingers. But anyway, come on, let's get this out of the way. The 3 W's. I know that's what you want to know about. The first W, believe it or not, watching. We need to watch, not our buds, not the trees, because they could fool us. They could make us think that it's time to do some action. No, we need to be watching the weather forecast, the longer term forecast. And in fact, we need to watch backwards. We need to look and see what we're doing this time in 2024, 2025, 2023, 2022. Why do you care what we were doing this year, last year, the year before? We've got the sun beaming in. All we want to do, it's mild. You know what we want to do. We want to take these, we want to brutalize the roots. We want to do it before the buds burst so that we can get those lovely repots done and start moving forward in our bonsai development. Don't be so quick, because if I look back through my records, February the 25th, 2022, that was the first time I did a repot. It was a Japanese maple. But guess what? There's a 3-week gap. I did nothing until March the 16th, and that I actually did indoors on a Japanese maple forest. February 22nd, 2023, I was actually doing a Japanese larch repot. But then we have to move forwards 4 more weeks until you start seeing me doing repots properly. March the 20th is when I really started going into them. In 2024, February the 24th, I did a dawn redwood repot. And in fact, in 2024, I was repotting from that point onwards. And in fact, let's go to last year. March the 8th was when I actually started my first repots. So here I am, 9th, 10th of February, and my fingers want a repot. Well, don't. Watch. Have a look ahead. On the weather forecast, we're talking about polar vortexes. We're talking about frost. And none of the overnight temperatures are much above freezing. Which I think really leads us to the second W, which of course, we're waiting. That's the second W. Don't underestimate how much time you need to spend waiting. Wait until you're sure, until you have to take action. Which really leads us to number 3. Respond. I know, cheap joke. Yeah, we need to respond to what we're seeing. We need to be ready. We need to be prepped so that in case we see some signs from some of our outlier species, like the quince, or indeed some of the crab apples, if we are looking to repot, maybe we can do it. But we are going to get a frost. We're going to get quite hard frost, and we're going to get a couple of weeks of it. And looking ahead to the forecast, it's coming. Doesn't mean you can't repot, but for me, it's dangerous. And you know what? We spend our time and money on these things. Let's just hold back. Let's wait. Let's use that second W and wait. So in this instance, I've got this quince. The buds are starting to open up. And a big thank you, Gary Brown. This is one that he let me have. And you all know that we've got that incredible Lord of the Rings repot to do in another month's time. But this one, I could possibly get away with doing a repot. But actually, there is nothing stopping me than waiting another 4 weeks and be absolutely sure, even if the leaves have started opening up. Now, oh my gosh, there's a robin redbreast there. Hello! I did say there were actually 10, I'll do 2 hand bursts, 10 things, and that's certainly the robin redbreast wants to hear them, that you should be looking at and thinking about in February. I have done something called the Think Ahead series. It'll be the end of the video and it'll show you me going through that in a lot greater detail. But quickly I'm going to shoot through them because I have actually got some work I want to do with the root over rock. Let's stick with the W's. Wiring. We've got loads of wire that's been on our trees. We know how long. If it's been on there for 3 months or more, it's a good chance we can probably take it off. We look at this hawthorn. It's been on for well over 6 months, I think. And I would imagine that I can probably take this off. Even if the bends come out, I have to be aware this is going to send out so much growth in the next 4 to 6 weeks that it's probably going to be too difficult to get the wire off. And you know what? I don't want this to scar because I've spent too long growing out these branches. So one of the things to look at, wiring. Go around your garden, have a look. All the stuff you've got wire on, I actually tend to put it all in one place in February so that I don't forget it because, well, you know, I've got a lot of trees where I've forgotten that wire's on there. Number 2, prioritize your repots. We're going to keep our fingers away from the trees if we can, but we also need to have a look. I mean, look at this one. This is the one that Adam of Notion Bonsai wired up, this beautiful juniper. This is a change of angle I want. The same with this cork bark elm that I've been working on. Both are in amply big pots. Both are very, very healthy. And truthfully, both are not a priority. So although I'm desperately wanting to get this into the right angle and the right pot, actually, I've got other things that need priority. So make sure, especially if you've got a bigger collection, that you've got a priority list of what trees have to be repotted versus what ones be nice to repot. And certainly in the case of this juniper, bearing in mind all this wiring work was done less than a year ago, you know, they do tend to say, some of the experts, that 1 abuse per year, per calendar year. Maybe it would be wiser to hold off repotting on this because I did do or had done so much work to it last year. Whereas indeed this silver birch, which has come from Tony's collection, you know that I want to try, put it on his side. This is definitely ready. If I'm going to do the raft on this and take the bottom off, I need to do that as a matter of priority. This is the one that's going to sit near the top of my garden in the pile, waiting for those buds to start showing me the signs that A, I can do it, also checking the weather reports to make sure B, it's going to be safe. Third one, of course, is our pots, general equipment, making sure it's clean, making sure that, as well as knowing which trees we're prioritizing, we've actually sorted out what pots we're going to put them in. Because if I was going to be using this lovely shallow oval for probably Japanese maples, you'd like it to be clean and free of grubs and rubbish and stuff like that, wouldn't you? Crumbs, I've got over 150 pots just sitting behind me. They were supposed to be cleaned last year. Oops. And of course, the other thing we need to be doing, we need to be mixing our soils up. That's some zeolite, I've got some pumice here, got my leca over there. I've done a whole video on making up soils, so I'm not going to do that right now, but that's one of the things you'll certainly be doing over the next couple of weeks. When it's rainy, you're bored, and you want to get these working. And the next one we can consider is Yamadori. Everyone knows that I do most of my digging in the late autumn, very early winter. So I have got something that I can go digging, and certainly late winter is a good time to do some of your Yamadori digs, so long you've got permission and you've got your shovel and spade and you're ready to get your repotting done. But right down there, I've actually got a wisteria, which I'm definitely going to be digging up. So we'll be seeing that fairly soon. And where we've got something like this, this old nursery centre silver birch, I've got a shoot up my nose at the moment, we need to be observing our buds. That's part of the waiting process. Watch them. We're looking to see any signs of them starting to expand, show that vibrancy that says spring's on the way. Because while those buds are dormant, we don't need to worry about repots at all. But this one, well, I think it's actually probably 6 feet worth of roots going straight down. So this may become a garden tree actually. And when it comes to repots, by the way, we're not just talking about your big finished trees like these. In fact, this is definitely one, this big Chinese elm root over rock. You know that I want to get this into a deeper pot. Buds starting to ripen, but I reckon I've got another 2 or 3 weeks. Do you know what here? These are all my cork bark elm cuttings I took last year, and looking at those, we've got lots of bud swell. Don't ever forget your cuttings. Have a look through, find out which ones you actually want to bring on into individual pots. I could probably leave these in here for another year actually, let that root mass strengthen. But I know there's 1 or 2 people who've got their eye on them, so I'm going to be separating those again a few more weeks time. There's also sharpening the tools. I'll tell you what, that sun is just coming straight at me. I use a wet block which has got different grits either side. Mine's an oil sandstone rather than a water one. When I talk about sharpening, all of our bladed instruments, so to speak, we've got our green polishing compounds. You can use all sorts of things. I found that from Notion Bonsai, the Bonsai Camellia oil, not only does it smell nice, it acts as a nice oil. Oils from my stones, again, another bonsai cleaning tool. And also you can just go down to your local hardware and buy a sharpener there. These are multi-sharpeners, and they've just got a metal sort of blade or whatever, and you can run that on your tools. Look, I've done a really great video about sharpening. As I say, if you have a look, it'll be in the description or it's just right up there. But do you know what? Got 2 more tips, and then I want to deal with my root over rock and see whether it's gripping. I'm sure you do too. In fact, while I'm getting that prepared and finding out what the other 2 great tips are for February, let's remind ourselves of some of the photographs that have come in 2026 for the first of the 2026 Bonsai subscriber photographs. Well, I tell you what, it's fantastic seeing so many great bonsai projects on the go. Keep sending those photographs in. You know where they need to go. Have a look in the description or just send it to expressionsbonsai@gmail.com. I'd imagine the next batch will probably go up in about 5 or 6 weeks' time when we're actually really getting into our bonsai repots. But I said there's 2 other things. Well, I'm surrounded by one of them. Certainly your jades, your portulacaris, your, well, all your indoor species, including, does everyone remember my Seed to Bonsai series? Got some nice weeds in here. These are my pomegranates. I noticed I put wire around them. Best get those off. These will feature in a time lapse, which will show at the end of this year probably. But these really just have to stay in the pots, be fertilised. Oh, there you go. Make sure you got your fertilisers ready because soon we'll be applying fertiliser. Bear in mind, not much point putting fertiliser on frozen ground. In fact, right over there is actually a bonus tip that I didn't talk about. Water butts. Go around, clean all the tops, the bottoms, make sure that all your workings have all been cleaned out because you want to be collecting as much rainwater as you can. Because certainly I've learned that my Satsuki azaleas prefer to have nice, fresh rainwater coming from up above, not from Anglian water, if they can stop the pipes leaking. So we've done the indoors. In fact, we've gone right through a whole list of things. Oh, we've already done one of the things in the last video, thread grafts. Definitely get those thread grafts doing because you want to be doing that really before the buds, just before the buds start swelling. Otherwise, that massive hole has got to be even more massiver. Or you can use that grafting tape like I've done just to make it a lot easier and a lot less dangerous. So make sure you get your thread grafts done and lined up. I've got so much to do. But you know what? But you know what? We talked about our indoor bonsais, tiger bark ficus definitely. But there's nothing stopping you actually, even now at this time, having a look at all your Root on the Rock projects. This one, as I said at the beginning, was actually started late 2022. Been a few ups and downs. In fact, tell you what, let's go back to 2024 and revisit exactly where this was then. I did this this tiger bark ficus as in fact I did 2 as a Root on Rock project back in I think November 2022, and I'm sure the video will be flashing up there. Now I haven't checked it, but I know there's problems, and the first reason I know there are problems is because of this. Originally the rock, Root on Rock, was going over here through a cleft in the rock down here, and this was the root that was supposed to be down there. Now I noticed that had already dried out and had broken, so I'd removed it there. You can see it's clearly dead there, and at the time I just left it because what I didn't know is how much further I'd attach down there. But clearly there's going to be some issues. If this is going to be Root on Rock, we need to investigate. Just pull it out and see what's going on. There are some roots clearly growing, but with the loss of the main one across the back here, I can't see what's going to be attaching it. So let's undo that. In fact, it's undoing all of its own. And you know, there you go. It's a brilliant rock for Root on Rock, but it's failed. Have I got another opportunity on it? Well, let's have a look here. We've got two corresponding roots going either side. Well, with a bit of hunting around, I found a more appropriate rock, and it's this one here. And this is the more traditional style of Japanese rocks with lots of clefts and ridges in there, but it's also got a nice place where I can sit the bum of this tree on it. So I am going to wrap that, put a load of wet soil in there first, wrap it in cling film. Well, what I've got here is I've just wrapped this into the top. I've put these roots into one of those channels with a bit of soil and sphagnum. And equally what I want to do is I'm going to put all these into this channel here, and I'll put soil and sphagnum over it, wrap it again. But what I'm looking for is expansion of those roots, which means I need to get a lot of growth, so I will not do any pruning on this at all. Quite happy for those roots to continue to grow. And I think the only bad thing about this, well, it's not a bad thing. You know, you've got to accept this. That's why I do, when I do root and rock, I might do 6, 7, 8 of them, because 2 or 3 of them have to be readjusted. And this means this is going to push the timeline back on this. Well, if I get good, healthy growth, at least 2 more years, I need those roots to pretty well double in size. So it's 18 months later. Here we are. Here it is. Have those roots managed to thicken, develop? Certainly, we've got a lot of foliage here. And certainly, initially, it seems to be quite solid. Fingers crossed, when I pull this apart, it isn't all going to fall apart with the soil. Anyway. Okay, well, as you can see, I've actually taken away quite a lot of the stuff that's around the side. And as you remember, there's one root channel down here, and that seems quite solid in there, and the second one was coming down here, and we've got some nice roots there. What I'm thinking about doing is setting it up so that the weight of the tree is still supported on the rock. If I set it too far that way, I could pull it away. I don't know, I think I'm going to try and put that into a pot. Yeah, it started in 2022, but 18 months further on, you know, I looked at it, checked it, had to reaffix it, picked a better rock, and do you know what? Get the angle right, I think that's going to look pretty devastating. So. There you see it. And look, I know this video was about the 3 W's and the 10 things you can be considering in February. But you know what? We all like to have a bit of bonsai as well, don't we? And this has really, it's worked out perfectly. I mean, I just love the way that rock's going to be. And this won't be the final pot, but I needed something, obviously, that I could have a drip tray on. Look, there's loads of foliage. Am I going to cut any of it now? Of course not. I want more and more foliage. I want this to really bush out. I'm going to fertilise it heavily. And I just want more and more roots growing. It's going to be another year before I really look at doing anything here, because I think my tree is actually going to be a lot shorter. But you know what? I wonder if we can just coax a little bit of moss around there, just to give it a little bit of colour, if anything. Look at that. Nice. A nice green there. And as I say, you know what it's like in my garden. Moss is an absolute nightmare. Birds love it. That's how they know that the repotting season is definitely on its way. The other set of roots are down here. They've dried out nicely, to be honest, so I can't imagine I'm going to have any sort of problem here. Really happy with that. I'm not sure how well you can see the colours under this harsh indoor lighting. Definitely think it's going to be another few more weeks while I'm here. We've got rain. So there you go, and hopefully it's been a bit of a bumper episode. Goodness knows what YouTube will do and how they'll throw it out there, but I'm really happy with this. The 10 points that I brought out, I know they're all very logical. The 3 W's, watch, I can't remember what they were now. The 3 W's, you know, they speak out for themselves. I think the bottom line I'm saying, if you're an expert, or if you know exactly what you're doing and you're not bothered and you know how to look after your trees, then do you know what? This video probably isn't for you. But if you're one of those ones who has only got a few trees and you desperately want to get in there and start doing repots, first of all, indoor trees, big thumbs up. That fits in the 10. But if it's outdoors, you know what? I did all my repotting basically in March, and as you know from a few videos ago, in April. Not a problem. Better to be safe than sorry, because after all, we love our trees, don't we? Anyway, look forward to seeing how this develops. It's going to go outside, it's going to sit in the rain for an hour or so. Going to get some fertilizer on it probably in another week's time, and wow, I'm looking forward to this developing. You know what? That is a really good video, and make sure you watch it. Apart from that, happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.